Captain James Hollister rode through the canyon at dawn, his horse's hooves crushing sage beneath the weight of 10 years' guilt. Gunmetal light spilled over red rock formations, casting shadows that looked too much like the ones that haunted his sleep. His beard had gone gray at the temples, not from age, but from remembering. Behind him, 3 days back, lay Fort Stanton. Ahead, nothing but cactus, rattlesnakes, and a reckoning he'd been riding toward since 1863. The Apache camp had been peaceful that morning. He remembered that much. Cook fires, children laughing. Then Colonel Morrison's order, "Hostiles spotted, move in." But they weren't hostiles. Hollister's hands tightened on the reins. His unit had opened fire before anyone could question, before he could stop them. Before he understood that Morrison had lied to settle a land dispute for his brother-in-law's cattle operation. 15 minutes, 37 dead, and 1 survivor. The canyon narrowed. Hollister's horse nickered nervously as movement flickered in his peripheral vision, a flash of deerskin against sandstone. He didn't reach for his colt. If she wanted him dead, he would have been dead 3 miles back. Ayasha. His voice cracked like old leather. She emerged from behind a juniper, Winchester rifle aimed steady at his chest. 10 years had sharpened her features into something fierce and beautiful. High cheekbones, eyes black as obsidian, a scar running from her temple to her jaw. She wore traditional dress mixed with cavalry boots she'd probably taken off a dead soldier. "You know my name?" Her English was perfect. Missionary school perfect. "I didn't think you'd remember." "I remember everything." "Do you remember my daughter?" The rifle barrel didn't waver. "She was 4, wearing the blue beads I'd traded for in Santa Fe." Hollister's throat constricted. "I remember." "My mother, my brothers, my husband." "I remember them all." Ayasha's finger moved to the trigger. The morning sun caught the brass of the Winchester, throwing light like a promise of violence. A hawk cried somewhere overhead. "Then why?" she whispered. "Are you still breathing?" He slowly dismounted, hands visible. "Because you let me. You've had clean shots before." She had. Albuquerque, 2 years ago, through a hotel window. Silver City last spring when he'd stopped for supplies. She'd been tracking him the way wolves track wounded elk, patient, methodical, waiting for the right moment. "I wanted you to see it coming," she said. "I wanted you to know. I've known for 10 years. Hollister unbuckled his gun belt, let it fall to the dirt. "I turned Morrison in. They court-martialed him, stripped his rank. It wasn't enough." "Justice from white men's courts?" Ayasha laughed bitterly. "They gave him 2 years in prison. He owns a ranch in Colorado now." "I know. And you? You kept your commission, kept your honor." "I got no honor left." He took 1 step forward. "I resigned, testified against 12 officers. They hate me for it. The army, the government, they wanted it buried." Another step. Her rifle tracked him. "So you think confession earns you peace?" Her voice shook now, rage and grief fighting for control. "You think telling truth balances the scales?" "No." He stopped 10 feet away. "Nothing balances it. That's why I'm here." Wind howled through the canyon, carrying the scent of creosote and rain that wouldn't come. Ayasha's hands trembled on the Winchester. "I followed you for years," she said. "Watched you help settlers, save a Mexican family from bandits, stop a lynching in Socorro. You've been trying to earn redemption." "Can't earn what I don't deserve." "Then what do you want from me?" Hollister met her eyes, those dark, devastating eyes that haunted every whiskey bottle, every sleepless night. "I want you to pull that trigger, or I want you to let me spend whatever days I got left making this territory safer for people like you. People the government pretends don't exist." The rifle lowered slightly. "You don't get to choose your own punishment." "Then you choose." Silence stretched between them like barbed wire. A lizard skittered across stone. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled empty threats. Ayasha's shoulders sagged. The Winchester dropped another inch. I've dreamed of killing you. Every night, every morning. It's the only thing that made sense. So do it. But it won't bring them back. The words tore out of her like a scream. Tears cut tracks through the dust on her face. Nothing brings them back. Not your death, not Morrison's, not... She broke. The rifle fell completely as she collapsed to her knees, a decade of grief finally cracking through the armor she'd built from rage and survival. Hollister didn't think. He crossed the distance, dropped beside her, and she struck him. Fists against his chest, his face, his shoulders. He took every blow, took it all until her strength gave out and she sagged against him, sobbing into his shirt. I hate you, she gasped. I hate you so much. I know. But I'm tired of hating. I'm tired of hunting. I'm just tired. He held her carefully, like something sacred and broken. Then rest. They made camp in the canyon as storm clouds gathered like dark promises overhead. Hollister built a fire while Ayasha sat watching from a boulder, Winchester across her lap, not aimed at him anymore, but not set aside either. Trust wasn't something you offered. It was something you earned over years, over actions, over choices made when nobody was watching. There's a settlement, he said, feeding mesquite to the flames. 20 miles west. Mix of Mexican families and Apache who survived the wars. They're trying to build something real. But there's a land company, backed by politicians, wants to run them off. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm riding there tomorrow. And if you want to kill me, I'd appreciate you waiting till after I help them. Ayasha almost smiled. Almost. You're a strange man, James Hollister. First time she'd used his name. It sounded different in her voice, not like an accusation, but like a possibility. I met your daughter, she said suddenly. Before. That morning. She was chasing a puppy through camp, laughing. She had your wife's laugh. Hollister's hands stilled on the firewood. He'd never told her about that. You kept your ring, Ayasha continued, nodding toward his left hand where a simple gold band caught firelight. Cholera, wasn't it? 3 years before the massacre. 2 years, Sarah and little Emma both. He swallowed hard. I know it don't compare. Pain isn't a competition. She shifted on the boulder. I thought it was. Thought my suffering was special, unique, justified my rage. But grief is grief. Loss is loss. Lightning split the sky. Thunder rolled after it like God clearing his throat. My husband told me something once, Ayasha said quietly. He said the Apache believe there are 2 deaths. First, when your body stops. Second, when your name is spoken for the last time. You've been carrying my family's names, carrying their memory when you had every reason to forget and move on. Forgetting would have been easier. Easier isn't righteous. Rain began to fall, fat drops that hissed in the fire and turned the dust to mud. They moved under an overhang, sitting side by side as the storm unleashed itself on the desert. I don't forgive you, Ayasha said. I ain't asking for forgiveness. But I don't need to kill you either. She looked at him then, really looked at him. You're already dying, piece by piece, day by day. Living with what you did, that's a harder sentence than any bullet could give. Maybe. So here's what happens. She stood, silhouetted against the rain. You ride to that settlement tomorrow. I ride with you. We help those families. Then we see. See what? If there's more living to be done? For both of us. Hollister rose slowly, hope flickering in his chest, like that struggling campfire. You'd work with me? I'd work beside someone trying to do right. That person happens to be you. She extended her hand. But James, if you ever lie to me, if you ever put innocent people at risk again, if you ever forget what you did and who you did it to, You'll finish what you started today. No. Her grip was iron strong. I'll make you wish I had. They shook on it as lightning painted the desert silver, and thunder shook the stones beneath their feet. The settlement was called Esperanza, Hope. Seemed fitting. They rode in together 2 days later, Hollister on his bay mare, Ayasha on a painted Mustang she'd broken herself. The town consisted of adobe buildings, a well, and 40 families who'd pooled their resources to buy land nobody else wanted, until they found silver in the hills. Now the Territorial Development Company, backed by Santa Fe money and corrupt federal marshals, wanted the land, wanted the people gone, wanted another massacre nobody would remember, but Hollister remembered, and Ayasha sure as hell wouldn't forget. The fight came on a Tuesday. 6 hired guns rode in with eviction papers and Winchesters. They expected scared farmers, expected easy prey. They didn't expect a gray-bearded ex-captain who could still shoot like he was 20, or an Apache woman who moved through smoke and chaos like a ghost with a grudge. The gunfight lasted 3 minutes. No civilians died. 2 hired guns surrendered. The rest rode out bleeding and broke. When the dust settled, Hollister found Ayasha sitting on the church steps, checking the loads in her Winchester. Blood streaked her arm from a graze, but her eyes were clear. "We make a good team," she said. "Reckon we do. My family would have liked this. Protecting people. Building instead of destroying. What do you like?" She considered the question. Really considered it. Like it was something she'd forgotten how to ask herself. "I like not hating anymore," she said finally. "I like waking up without murder being the first thing I think about." Hollister sat beside her. "Is there room for something else? Something more than just not hating?" Ayasha turned to him, and for the first time he saw it. A crack in the armor, a possibility of something beyond pain. "Maybe," she whispered. "Maybe there's room for—" Then it happened. A rifle shot from the hills, a stray bullet from a retreating gunman. It punched through Ayasha's chest before either of them could move, dropping her into Hollister's arms. "No!" He pressed his hands to the wound, blood pulsing hot between his fingers. "No, goddammit, not like this!" She coughed, red staining her lips. Her hand found his face, touched it gently. "James," his name, spoken soft as prayer. "Don't you dare, don't you leave, not now, not when—" "Listen," her voice faded. "Tell you—" He leaned close, holding her like she was made of light and promises. "I love you," Ayasha whispered, "but you killed my family." The words hit him like bullets. "I know," he choked out. "I know, and I'm so choose." Her eyes held his, fierce even in dying. "Choose to honor them. Choose to be the man who makes this world safer. Choose to live with the pain and do right anyway. I can't do it without you." "Yes, you can." She smiled then, beautiful and terrible. "You already have been. Just keep going. Keep choosing. That's all redemption is. Choosing right, again and again, until you don't have to choose anymore, until it's just who you are." Thunder rumbled overhead. The rain came again, washing blood and tears into the thirsty earth. "Ayasha!" "Thank you," she breathed, "for remembering, for trying, for giving me something besides hate before the end." Her hand fell from his face, her eyes closed, and James Hollister held her as the storm wept over the desert, washing the world clean for a new day he'd have to face alone. But not empty, never empty again, because he carried her name now too, carried all their names, and he'd spend every remaining day making sure those names meant something more than tragedy, meant hope, meant change, meant a territory where Apache children and settler children could chase puppies together without fear of men in blue coats with black hearts. He buried her on a hill overlooking Esperanza. Then he got back to work. because that's what she'd asked for. And for her, he'd choose right every single day he had left. Thanks for staying to the end of this tale of redemption and forgiveness. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic Western stories that'll hit you right in the heart.